talked to you after your last game, so I wanted to ask you, early in that game, Tom got hit, first throw, third down throw to Kyler Johnson, who was whacked pretty good. Spent a lot of time the rest of the game checking the ball down. You've been in that position as a quarterback. Didn't seem like you had too many downfield throws. Maybe that was coverage, but is that unusual for you guys to have lack of a vertical passing game the way you did there?
Well, it's unusual for us not to have the explosives. I think everybody used to us to having explosives. We've been in games before this year, and where we didn't have as many as we normally would have, according to the way teams are playing us, really, to be honest with you. But I think that's our next growth as an offense. It allows us to get better at it on Sundays, The way teams playing us, you can't control how teams play. We don't really care, to be honest with you. We don't care what they put out there. We're just trying to execute versus whatever the defense is. And sometimes you may not have as many explosives. It may be 8, 9, 10 play drives. You can't be mad at that. We're not mad at that. We just got to do what we need to do at the end. And it's ultimately coming down to scoring points, right? We talk about it. We got to do a better job of scoring points.
Yeah, it seems like they're rushing 3 and 4. That's it. And then everybody else are dropping into coverage. They're having those 2 deep safeties. That has to change the way you guys play, right? It has to change the way you attack a defense.
It ain't the first time that teams played us that way. So it's a week-to-week thing, to be honest with you. We can't control what their game plan is. We just try to be multiple and ready for whatever type of game it's going to be. We got to do enough to win the game that day. The last 2 games, we wasn't able to do that. But I still like our process, the way we approach the game on Sundays. We'll have that same mindset. We'll just try to be better at executing and better at getting the job done.
Do you feel the loss of a guy like Antonio Brown a little more when it becomes more of one of those dink and dunk type games because of what he can do after the catch, because he can make guys miss, he's so sudden, he can 0 to 60 like that?
I think anytime you don't have him, regardless of what week, right? Like you're talking about AB, so he brings that much to your football team. But at the same time, it's the game of football. Guys are going to be in and out. We just got to – that's no excuse for us. We just got to do a better job, really, of executing and doing what we need to do to have more success, more positive plays down in and down out. That's really what it comes down to.
Is Mike seeing more double coverage because AB's not in there?
I don't know if he's ever not got doubled, like even when AB's here. So he's the guy that – obviously, right, Mike is Mike. They know who Mike is. Like, to be honest with you, Mike is that good a football player. So they'll do what they need to do. As a coach, as a player, I try to coach them, and we don't really care what teams run and how they run it. Our job is to execute versus the defense. So how many they drop back, how many they pressure is out of our control. So let's try to prepare for everything, and whatever come our way, we still do a good job of executing. That's what we really believe in.
Byron, the difference between home and away for you guys this year, how much do you put into that? Obviously the results are different, but, is that as simple as home and away, or it's, the opponent? How much do you look at that? And, the points per game are different. The record's obviously different. When you look at that, what do you see?
I see us not playing well enough that day, to be honest with you. I think we're too veteran of a club to be that lopsided home and away. I don't think that really has a lot to do with it. I just think that day we didn't do a good job executing. I wish I can pinpoint something, but in all of my history, I can't pinpoint nothing with this group. This group attacks everything. And when we don't play our best, we want to do what we can to play our best. And that's what we don't feel as though we played our best really the past couple of weeks. It just so happened to be on the road. We got a good opportunity Monday night to try to go out and try to do that.
Byron, after the game, some of the players were saying, losing back-to-back games, this is when the veterans, the leaders need to step up and be vocal. Have you seen that since Sunday's game? Anybody in particular that's said anything?
It don't, not in particular. I think we got, like I said, we got a bunch of veteran guys, right, who's been around a lot of football. So obviously they'll say what they need to say to each other, but then it's back to work. The way they approach it, they come to work. You guys don't see practice, but these guys are practicing, doing what we ask them to do, telling them. Every time we come to this group and say, hey, we got to do this to get better, they always answer. And they approach this week of practice in the right mindset here early, and you appreciate that as a coach. They're attacking what we need to attack on the practice field, and that's normally how you get results.
The touchdown, Mike, in the fourth quarter Sunday was certainly a highlight. Can you just there something you can talk about what you guys saw, the coverage? Obviously, Tom kind of identified it really quickly, but just how that came together.
Well, like I said, we can't control what they in. We just try to be prepared for whatever it is, and Mike and Tom was on it. They were on it. We got what we thought that there was a chance that we can get, even though we wasn't getting a lot of it, and we got it. And when we got it, we were able to execute. And that's the key. When we get what we want, execute. When we get what we don't want, execute. We don't really prepare them for one defense, one thing. I try my best to prepare them for everything so they can still play fast regardless of what really happens out there on Sundays.
More than a week, has Rashad kind of got his bearings and be available in a pinch?
Well, he was available Sunday, so obviously the more he's here, the more he'll be able to help us. Yes, so he'll be able to help us more just by being here. I'm quite sure that was tough on him, even though it was some of the stuff is similar. It's not all similar. That was tough to to have him go out there and be ready, but he was ready. It's just the ball never came his way. He didn't really get a lot of snaps, so we'll see. We'll see where he's at this week. We'll see how many opportunities he get this week.
It's been about 20 years since Tom last lost 2 games in a row. A little more fire in his eyes this week, do you think?
It's been 20 years since he's lost 2 games in a row. Yeah, I thought we lost 2 last year. So what's your question then?
He doesn't like to lose, obviously, but has it been...
None of us do.
Have you seen a kind of a different demeanor with him this week, just a little more fiery?
No, because we understand if we don't play well and if we don't execute on game day, you're not going to win in this league. So it's up to us. It's up to us to prepare during the week to make sure we're doing the right things on game day. He understands that. Obviously, it's frustrating for everybody when you lose ball games. But everybody's somewhat frustrated anytime you walk out of a stadium and you don't have the victory. So we'll just work, get back to it, and try to find a way to win the game Monday night.
You win 7 Super Bowls. Sometimes you forget all the kind of the nitty-gritty that goes along with that, and some of the games that maybe you win, but they're not always the prettiest, right?
Yeah.
And so after a loss like that, it can be, I guess, difficult for a guy like Tom. With that, after a loss like that, is it one of those things where it's just like nobody kind of goes near him? I mean, how do you kind of approach it? Or is that really just much the same way the rest of the locker room is? You just see it more with him.
Yeah, none of us like to lose, right? None of us like to lose. It's funny that you say that because I talk to him all the time I try to ask them who can remember the scores from last year, right? Nobody remember the scores. It's about if you win or lost, right? So that's really irrelevant. Our job is to go out and try to win the football game. It's you guys' job to talk about if we're struggling, if we're playing well, if we're playing good. Like last week, who's going to be the MVP this week? Who's going to be the MVP next week? That's part of it. But for us, we just try to go out and play good football every time we step on the grass. And when we don't do that, it's disappointing.
Remember the record. Like, they only remember the 7 Super Bowls. Do you think sometimes they forget that there is a human behind that and that he is human and that, he doesn't always have great days at the office like the rest of us? I think that's kind of the case sometimes.
We're just trying to win. Thank you, God.